great to be here. It's always a pleasure to be back in Glasgow and to join this year's Congress of Business. Actually was last in this building during COP26. There were a lot more trees in here last time. Who was in this building, COP26? Oh, that's interesting. I expected a few more. It's good to see. Good to see that mix. Glasgow, of course, was the stage for COP26, but the legacy was never meant to be measured in speeches or declarations or communiques. The real test was always going to be about what came next. What could businesses do? What could the city do? What would governments, investors, universities, and communities do next? And I think that's why today's theme is so powerful. How does action build hope? Because hope in business is not wishful thinking. It is not waiting for someone else to solve the problem. Hope is built when people see progress, when ambition becomes a plan, when a plan becomes investment, and when, of course, investment becomes jobs, skills, innovation, and growth. It is built when businesses can see that the transition to a more sustainable future is not something being done to them, to us, but an opportunity we can seize and we can lead from the front. However, across the UK, businesses are facing a significant challenge. Our economy has been stuck for too long in a cycle of low growth, weak investment, and fragile confidence. Breaking out of that cycle is one of the great economic challenges of the next decade. We hear it, and we should be clear. It is business that will deliver growth, create jobs, invest, innovate, trade, turn ideas into products, services, and opportunities. But government, of course, has a vital role in creating the conditions for firms to succeed. And that is why at the British Chambers of Commerce, we are focusing on the practical actions needed to unlock growth. From now, over the next 3 years to the next general election, the 3 long-term drivers of prosperity: trade, investment, and productivity. And these drivers matter deeply to the conversation we're having today, because the energy transition is not separate from the growth challenge. It is a core part of it. If we get this right, this transition can open new markets, strengthen supply chains, crowd in investment, drive innovation, and create good jobs in every part of the country. So the question is not, of course, whether we choose growth or sustainability. The question is how we use action on sustainability to build a stronger, more productive, more resilient economy. That is how action builds hope. And businesses, we are ready to act. We are already part of the answer, but we really need the conditions to support it. For many firms, the path from that ambition to practical action still feels too hard. When I talk to businesses, they talk about working in treacle. The best place to gauge a local economy, I always find, is to talk to the taxi driver that picks you up from the airport or the hotel, which I did this morning. And he called it walking through mud. Energy costs are high, grid connections are slow, upfront costs are holding back investment, skills shortages are slowing delivery. And still too many SMEs are asking, where do I start? Because, of course, the energy transition isn't going to be delivered by large corporations, major infrastructure, or governments. It will be delivered by businesses of all sizes, from all sectors, across the whole country. At the British Chambers of Commerce, we do a huge amount of research with our members. We run the Quarterly Economic Survey in the UK's biggest private sector survey, 5,000 businesses a quarter, the voice of business, your voice. And even prior to the conflict in Iran, our research showed that over half of businesses were under pressure to raise prices because of utility costs. And of course, that pressure's increasing. Last summer, our research showed that 70% of businesses said that high costs were a significant barrier to making progress on net zero. So when we talk about the energy transition, we have to be clear, it is not an abstract policy debate. It is real business choices being made by you every day. The UK continues to have some of the highest energy costs in the world. This is damaging growth, it is weakening competition, and it's harder for us to make the steps towards sustainability. We have been calling for practical support with energy costs and targeted help for firms looking to electrify and switch to low-carbon power. We also need to move faster on the grid. Across the Chamber network, businesses tell us they are ready to install renewable energy on their premises, but they're getting held back by delays. Over a third of firms said that the national grid wasn't giving them what they needed in terms of energy supply. Some have even been given grid connection dates of 2038. That is not the first time you've heard that story. So reform to the national grid is central to growth, central to clean energy, and central to how we turn ambition into opportunity. We also know that the transition must be managed strategically in key sectors, including the North Sea. Through our North Sea Transition Task Force, which we ran with all our chambers, but led by Aberdeen Chamber, we have focused on how to protect jobs and supply chains while accelerating progress to renewable energy. The businesses, workers and capabilities that power today's energy system are also essential to building the clean energy system of tomorrow. And that opportunity is enormous. It is a cost, but the opportunity to net zero transition is estimated to be at least $1 trillion to UK business by 2030. That's just not a growth opportunity, it's an export opportunity, a job opportunity, and an innovation opportunity. But the UK will not win by default. Other countries are moving faster, competing for investment, talent, and technology. The UK has real strengths, from advanced manufacturing and science to low-carbon innovation, but businesses will only invest if they can see stability, certainty, and opportunity. It may not be the best of weeks to be talking about stability and certainty. But we can crack on, backed by the right finance, infrastructure that delivers, and a clear long-term plan. But there is also a productivity story here. The energy transition and digitalisation need to be seen together, and I know we'll be hearing a bit more about that later. AI and digital tools can help firms optimise energy use, track emissions, reduce waste, improve logistics. But we must also acknowledge that they also bring new demands on energy and on infrastructure. So we need businesses, especially the SMEs of the UK, to use these tools responsibly and effectively, ensuring that the digital and green transition reinforce each other. The Chambers of Commerce, at the end of last year, launched our AI Academy, a practical programme designed to help business help you understand how to adopt AI. Not just maybe to help you write your emails, but to really drive productivity and support decision-making, preparing us for the opportunities and challenges that a more digital economy will bring. And we're already seeing results. The data that our programme is showing is incredible. Employees are saying they are saving, on average, 3 to 5 hours a week in their roles. If you ladder that up to national productivity, that is huge. AI is challenging, but this sort of training and learning can at least show us the art of the possible. Because the transition will only happen if people have the skills and confidence to use it and talk about it. And that is why universities and colleges with businesses are so important. Glasgow, of course, is fortunate to have world-class academic institutions. an ambitious business community, and a strong civic ecosystem. And when those assets work together, they can turn ideas into companies, research into products, skills into career, and local strengths into global opportunities. The Chambers of Commerce are uniquely placed to help support that. We sit at the intersection between local business reality and national policy. We convene, we connect, we translate policy into practical support, help businesses learn from each other, and bring evidence from the front line, from what you tell me and Alison every day, back to local and central government. That is the power of the network. And the Glasgow Chamber, of course, shows what this looks like in practice right here. Through Circular Glasgow, Climate Chamber, and its focus on skills, it has helped turn the legacy of COP26 into practical local action. We are also seeing that spirit on a national stage. Together, we are part of the task force put together by the Palace called Circularity in Practice, inspired by His Majesty the King and supported by our chambers and businesses across the UK. And that matters because one of the biggest risks after a major moment like COP is that energy fades. But Glasgow has really kept that momentum. The Glasgow Times, as we are now going to call it. So, my message today is simple. Businesses, we are ready to act, but action needs confidence, clarity, partnership, and trusted networks. That is where your chambers come in. We help businesses understand the opportunity, government understand the barriers, and cities connect ambition to delivery. And that is how action builds hope. COP26 gave Glasgow a global platform. The years since have tested whether ambition can become delivery. The years ahead, COP31 and beyond, will test again that we can scale and deliver fast enough again. The British Chambers of Commerce stands ready to work with Glasgow Chamber, businesses, universities, cities and governments to make that happen. Because hope is not something we wait for. It is something we build together through action. Thank you.